Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, June 21st, 2024. Normally, I just get right into the forecast and we go over all the technical details that you know you love when you come here, as this is usually the most active video. But I need to get something kind of off my chest. That kind of bothers me with what I've been seeing from the rest of my field. Okay. And this has something to do with a little bit of politicians, unfortunately, being annoying. Okay. And part of this is because of, and I'll just call them out, Climate Central. Sorry, guys. You guys put out some good work, but this is where you guys fumble. Okay. A lot of people are running around saying that this is unprecedented, historic heat wave. It's not. It's barely creating record highs. There was one record high in Reading yesterday. That's about it. Um, this is not unusual. It's June 21st. It's a heat wave. It's summer. Yes, we need to let people know to be prepared. As I've been saying for quite some time ahead of this heat wave, that, hey, look, you have to be prepared because this is the first heat wave. You're not acclimated to it. You need to make sure you drink plenty of water. You need to keep an eye on your relatives, the elderly, the kids. You have to be aware of that. And it's good to advertise that and let people know that's not hyping. That right there is not hyping. That is being a responsible meteorologist and explaining the threats and trying to explain to people, hey, look, this is an environment that you're not used to and it can hit you hard. That's being responsible. What's not being responsible is claiming that this is some sort of historic event. It's not. It is not in any way, shape, or form. 500 millibar heights are not in any way, shape, or form historic. And the issue with this is that it waters down and it creates basically a what would you like to call crying wolf scenario here, because when we do have extreme heat where temperatures are in over 100 degrees for several days, we have a heat index over 110 degrees. When you have those extreme scenarios, people are not going to take you seriously because the last one you made it out like as if the world was ending. So while this heat needs to be taken seriously, and guess what? As I'll be showing in a moment, this weather pattern is not breaking down anytime. If you want to talk about climate, you have to do it in a reasonable, level-headed fashion, not in such a way that the whole world's ending. You might as well be the guy on the corner with the doomsday sign saying the world's ending. Okay, that's basically what you've become. And then no one listens to you and nothing ever changes and no one is prepared properly. Stop it. Stop it. Because it's an embarrassment to our field. What we need to do is communicate properly. And the way you communicate properly, pardon me, is by explaining this is a natural factor. These are your enhancements. For example, it's hot and humid because of climate change and rising 500 millibar heights, which means that your atmosphere can hold more water. That leads to higher humidity, which can increase your heat index. There you go. Nothing that's extreme. And this is also why I don't deal with this whole stripes thing that everyone's running around with. Because while it's a good presentation on the overall theme, what you also need to do is explain the fundamental factors involved in that data, including, yes, there's climate change. There's also the change of the AMO from negative to positive. There's changes in the PDO. There are changes in the amount of carbon dioxide we've put in the atmosphere. right? There's also changes in the amount that we've built up. Do you like your house? Because guess what? Before that house, you didn't have that additional heat. So you have to talk about all those factors. If you really want to talk about climate and be responsible and have responsible changes and not unrealistic nonsense. So I needed to get that off my chest because it needs to someone needs to say it. And since I take, the certified digital meteorologist seal very seriously, I take the responsibility to explain scientific uh, factors to you very, very seriously. I take it passionately. I want to make sure that you understand what's really going on here. It's not the end of the world. We have work to do in terms of our energy, what we use for energy. Go nuclear. I'm really a big fan of nuclear. And look, I'm dead honest. I invest in solar. I invest in wind on my personal finances. Just to be upfront on that, I invest in nuclear technology. I think that we should move away from oil eventually. All right, but we need to be realistic here. Okay, and we need to be adults. We need to be the adults in the room, not the lunatic running around saying the world's going to end. And using this heat wave, which we knew was coming. I was talking about this hot and humid weather pattern coming back in April, saying, hey, look, by mid June, we're going to switch hot and humid weather pattern. What do we have? We have a hot and humid weather pattern. So let's be adults here and stop overreacting. Now, with that, thank you for indulging. Let's talk about the weather pattern that we have in place here. And first of all, what is driving this weather pattern? We have our negative PDO signal. We have our developing weak La Nina taking place. Very warm, positive AMO with this signature right here supporting a strong Western Atlantic ridge. So again, we've gone over these factors before. They're not changing. They're here in place. And as a result of this, you get generally a trough in the Pacific Northwest, a broad ridge over the eastern 2/3 of the United States, and this is how you sustain your hot and humid weather pattern. And so there is no surprise here what we're seeing. Now, when you get a strong ridge complex out in the Atlantic and another one over the plains, you tend to get a weakness around the eastern United States. Not a true trough, but enough of a weakness that it sets up the potential for uh, weak cold fronts to move through, maybe a 24-hour break in the heat and humidity. The bulk of your cool air in the Northeast, at least, is going to be over New England. So there are two places to go during this weather pattern, which I'm about to show is not going away anytime soon. And that would be either northern New England or Long Island. Why Long Island? Because during this type of weather pattern, you're going to have a persistent southerly wind pattern. And so, with that type of wind pattern, you're going to get most of your influences off the Atlantic Ocean. So, you're going to be a bit cooler there. So, that's going to be your cool spot over the region throughout much of the summer, is especially southeastern Long Island. As you can see on the GFS, no changes. Now, what you're going to have from day to day is shifts in the position of the ridge axis and where your 500 millibar heights are going to be strongest. And in this type of scenario here, what you typically get is a little weakness, a trough, or maybe a stationary front somewhere around New England. You get a few pesky thunderstorms trying to drop through. You still get a surface high pressure system here and one here. You get a lot of subsidence. Your heat is really going to build here in Texas. You want to talk about temperatures around 110, 100 degrees. Don't be surprised you start seeing that around the plains. And what you have to watch out for with this type of heat ridge is that heat grows, it feeds back on itself, enhances the 500 millibar ridge as this heat continues to build. It kind of creates a feedback process, and that could spread into the eastern United States. This same pattern showed up also, should I mention, in the 1930s. It's what started to enhance, along with poor farming practices, the Dust Bowl, and the very hot and humid weather pattern that was set up throughout much of the mid 1930s. So The good news is that our farming processes are much better, so we don't enhance that heat ridge anymore because we farm properly now in the plains. So as a result, you're not going to end up with something like a dust bowl because you farm properly and you take care of the soil. So as this grows and intensifies, we'll see heat really build here. You'll get these little weak troughs drop through here, and you can see even on the ensemble guidance here, it's kind of showing the same thing. Ridge out here, ridge out here. You get these little weak troughs. If you want to stay really cool for most of the summer, you want to head towards the Pacific Northwest. And if you want to avoid the heat and stay a little bit closer to home, you want to head up towards more like Maine or northern New England, somewhere around in this area. And unfortunately, because the sea surface temperatures aren't going to be changing all that much, in fact, La Nina will continue to grow in strength, although it will be a weak La Nina, you generally end up with this continuous pattern. So if you're looking for a break and temperatures falling back into the 70s and 80s, you might get a 24-hour period after a cold front moves through. But the overall theme here, as suggested in the summer forecast, is hot and humid weather patterns are here to stay, and that's continuing all the way through early August. And the way I would look at this here is that you basically have a strong Western Atlantic ridge out here, nice ridge complex here. This supports cold fronts that try to move through, but then die out while approaching the coastal plain because it runs into this high. And then, of course, with this type of couplet, you have to keep an eye on for significant tropical development here around the Gulf Coast, the Caribbean, the Western Atlantic, around the Bahamas. And one of the cool tools you could use when looking at the moisture here for the 45-day period. Obviously, you don't take this verbatim, but you kind of get the idea of the theme here. You get a lot of your thunderstorm complexes up here with your stalling cold fronts and whatnot. This right here could be the track of a lot of tropical low pressure systems. So you kind of get the idea here where your Western Atlantic ridge is. And hey, look, it can come pretty close to the coast. Plenty of activity down towards Florida and along the Gulf Coast as expected. And of course, down towards the Western Caribbean, this likely is associated with some sort of tropical developments as we move forward. And of course, you have that storm track out here. So this kind of details your weakness potential here and your tropical track here and your activity overall. And unfortunately, aside from a break or two, the overall theme throughout this summer is hazy, hot, and humid. Now, while we're talking about the overall theme, take a look at this weather tap radar. You can see a disturbance off the Florida coast. It is not a tropical depression or storm at this time. It is now a disturbance at this point, with about 50% chance of development. It doesn't have a lot of time to develop because it's, as you can see, approaching the coastal plain here of Florida, but it does have a nice little low-level circulation, which we can see in the visible satellite picture right about here, with plenty of its convection, as we saw on the radar, to the south. It has a chance of developing into a tropical depression or possibly even a very weak tropical storm, like 40-mile-per-hour winds. Most of that would be focused down with this convection here. Uh, as it makes landfall this evening into the early morning hours tomorrow. So this is something that certainly needs to be watched. Don't be surprised we go from nothing to a tropical storm approaching in a span of a very short time period. Why? Because this is moving right over the Gulf Stream, which is very warm waters over off the East Coast here. And with that Gulf Stream, sometimes a little mischief could take place and you can get a low pressure system. You already have the first criteria here. You have clearly a circulation here. It has to get a little bit better defined. I know that there's uh, Hurricane Air Force planes heading out there to investigate it. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But you can see the convection really bubbling here. So don't be surprised we get something popped up off the southeast coast and surprise a couple people. But hopefully everyone out there is well prepared because I know they do an excellent job in terms of the media of keeping an eye on these systems. Closer to home, it is hazy, hot, and humid. Already temperatures rising through the 80s. It is going to be a very hot day today. Many locations are going to be in the 90s, and that heat index is going to be approaching 100 degrees. So just be prepared for that. We can already see the dew points here are pushing into the 70s. It is going to be a very muggy day. Now, you see this trough here? This is going to be a bit of a trigger here. This could spark a few isolated showers and thunderstorms if we get enough lifting. We also have a cold front off to our north. You can see on the latest WeatherTop radar and surface map, we have this frontal boundary here with a stationary front back here and a little weak low pressure system up here. This is going to try to drop south to around Connecticut and maybe up through the Hudson River Valley and around Florida. I said Florida, northeastern Pennsylvania. It feels like Florida out there. This whole setup is going to allow for the potential for some showers and thunderstorms to develop up here. Now, often with the mesoscale factors, some wild cards here to consider in this setup. First of all, we have these little boundaries here showing up, little old mesoscale boundaries. And when you have these little old mesoscale boundaries interacting with these little short waves here, and this trough out here that could spark a few isolated showers, it could create some wild cards and lead to some unexpected thunderstorms popping up, even down towards central New Jersey and around the Philadelphia metro. Now, the best lifting and dynamics, based on what we're seeing here in the infrared satellite picture, is going to be focused over New England. You see most of your lifting currently in the St. Lawrence River Valley. This is going to press south. And you can see that also on our water vapor satellite picture. Here is our little short wave, okay? When you have this type of setup, your best potential will be showers and thunderstorms here, okay? But the wild card, if you want to look back here, is if you get some of these thunderstorms to spark out and then you get an outflow boundary pushing south, that could also instigate showers and thunderstorms down here. That is currently not being forecasted by a lot of the model guidance. So just be aware that hey, we could actually get a little bit of relief in the evening hours from some of these thunderstorms. If you're going out for outdoor activities, especially to the north of New York City, and hey, even if you're heading out to the Yankees game this evening, use caution as these storms can surprise you and also produce very heavy downpours, frequent vivid lightning, wind gusts over 40 miles per hour, and some small hail. So definitely watch out for that. On our upper level winds, you can see the overall theme here. The polar jet streams off to the north, but you get these little weak short waves here to kind of clip through the region, and this is what can lead to the instigation of the showers and thunderstorms. And when you have this type of hot and humid weather pattern, what you have to watch out for, let's see if we can zoom in here. You see this little factor here? And this little factor here, these little tiny kinks, you have to really zoom in on to really kind of see what's evolving here. And this one right here, these little triggers can lead to an unexpected thunderstorm. So just be aware that there is a lot of volatility involved in the overall theme of this forecast, which is pretty straightforward, hot and humid. But there's these little triggers that we have to keep an eye on and watch. And so that's what we're going to be watching over the next 90 hours. Again, the overall theme here through this weekend is hot and humid. Now, I am concerned about Monday as the potential for showers and thunderstorms. There's some factors we need to work out here in this setup. For example, we could get a prefrontal trough that leads to showers and thunderstorms in the morning, early in the morning on Monday, and then Monday afternoon we don't reach the highest destabilization and we don't reach the high temperatures that we're expecting. That is possible. In that case, you still have showers and thunderstorms, but they may not be as severe. But the way I'm looking at this right now, for Monday, I got plenty of moisture. Precipitable water values are around 2 inches. That's a lot of tropical moisture to work with. You have a thermal gradient with a cold front moving through with true cold air transport driving in. And you have lifting at various levels of the atmosphere and also vertical wind shear in this setup. You also have pretty good Cape values setting up. When you're talking about Cape values breaking over 1,500 joules per kilogram, in a few areas even higher than that. So you have plenty of energy in the atmosphere. Okay, you have plenty of fuel. You have, with this trough coming in, vertical wind shear, and it opens up the potential for some severe thunderstorms. And even your K index, which is one of the features that we use, one of the statistical features we use for strong to severe thunderstorms, showing up the potential for a few isolated severe thunderstorms in this setup. So Monday looks like it's going to be a stormy day. So let's dive through this forecast for today. Look for hazy, hot, and humid weather conditions with some showers and thunderstorms developing, mostly focused over extreme northeastern Pennsylvania, the Catskills, the Hudson River Valley, and Connecticut. Some of those thunderstorms will attempt to press southward into the New York City metro, could even reach the Philadelphia metro. But I think the overall focus is going to be from New York City on northward. Look for temperatures today to range from the mid to upper 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, lower to mid 90s everywhere else, with the heat index ranging from the mid 90s to mid 100s. Use caution, it is going to get ugly out there. For tonight into tomorrow morning, hazy, hot, and humid, muggy. Temperatures ranging from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. Just a muggy morning. In the afternoon, again, there's that threat for showers and thunderstorms, especially over the interior. But for the most part, again, the theme will be hazy, hot, and humid, with temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, lower to mid 90s over the interior, and mid to upper 90s in the Delaware River Valley. There will be locations with the heat index over 100 degrees. Do use caution, drink plenty of water. While this isn't a historic heat wave, it could still knock you on your butt if you're not being prepared with this heat and humidity. So drink plenty of water, kind of stay away from the caffeinated beverages, and also get plenty of shade. Or head to the beach and stay in the cooler waters. Either way, use caution. On Sunday, that stationary boundary lifts north, and we generally end up with humid conditions on Sunday morning, with low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 70s over the interior and in your suburbs, upper 70s to a few lower 80s for lows in your urban areas. In the afternoon, with a trough approaching from the west, there will be the potential for a few isolated to widely scattered showers and thunderstorms, but for the most part, it will just remain hazy, hot, and humid, with temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, and lower to mid 90s over the interior, mid to upper 90s in the Delaware River Valley. Same threat with the heat index. On Sunday night into Monday, we'll get a prefrontal trough move through with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures on Monday morning, ranging from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s in your suburbs, mid to upper 70s in your urban areas. By Monday afternoon, widespread showers and thunderstorms would be a threat. Some of these thunderstorms will be severe, with high temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, lower to mid 80s over the interior, and upper 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Tuesday, we get a break. One of those little short breaks with high pressure building in and much lower humidity. Look for low temperatures to range from the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the upper 70s to lower 80s over the northern interior, mid to upper 80s along the coast, and mid 80s to a few lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Wednesday, high pressure exits. You'll notice the increase in humidity with low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s in your suburbs, and upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 80s along Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, upper 80s to lower 90s over the interior, and mid to upper 90s in the Delaware River Valley. Again, watch out for that heat index. On Thursday, a cold front moves through with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, another threat for severe thunderstorms here. Look for low temperatures ranging from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s in your suburbs, mid to upper 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 80s over the interior and along the coast, lower to mid 90s in the Delaware River Valley. And on Friday, high pressure builds in. Now we're going to have lower humidity build in, but then rebound pretty rapidly. So your low temperatures will range from the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s in your suburbs, mid to upper 60s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. And as always, stay safe out there.